Everybody has been asking about the G-Bay bid.
This video is sponsored.
We haven't seen it yet. This video title looks so darn good. Classic WoW finally disappointed me. I'm like, oh no. And then it says, somehow that made it better. I'm trying to think about what this is such a good title on a video, because it's like, now as a viewer, I'm like, well, what is it? What made it suck but then made it better? Like, why are you disappointed? Is it that you couldn't find groups for something, but then like you made friends along the way? I don't know. Anyway, guys, the amount of people asking if I've seen this, no, the answer is no. But in a second here, the answer will be yes, guys. Without further ado, episode 3 of G-Bay's classic series. Is this episode 4? It might be episode 4. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
By War Thunder.
War Thunder.
You know, a funny thing about my experience playing Classic WoW for the first time is I've started to learn I might be more positive about this game than most WoW players are.
Totally.
As someone who's still very early on in his first ever 1 to 60 leveling journey,
that's why it's refreshing to watch G-Bay, because everyone else is like, this game sucks.
I've been entranced by World of Warcraft and everything I've run into up until this point. From running my first dungeon, to grouping with kind strangers, to stumbling across some truly incredible quest lines, all in just the first 2 episodes. It has genuinely shocked me how good this game from 2004 still is, as I keep saying, but I do want to recognize, for others who've been playing since 2004, they have bigger fish to fry. If you spend any amount of time online, it's almost impossible to not notice that most longtime WoW fans have serious issues, be it with Blizzard or Classic or...
I thought he was saying we have serious issues, and I'm just like, what do you mean serious issues, man? Not all of us. I mean, maybe I do, but like, I can't just say for every WoW player that we all have issues. That'd be crazy. But yeah, no, anyway, G-Bay's point is right. Like, I've thought about this before. If you spend a copious amount of time online, like say you play WoW for 18 hours a day, you're gonna find something wrong with it. You just will. If you play WoW for like 2 hours a day or 1 hour a day, you're probably gonna love it and be craving to play more. It's kind of the same with anything. If you do League of Legends for like 12 hours a day, you're gonna think the game sucks, and you're gonna think this is the worst thing ever, but I'm addicted. But if you play League for like an hour a day or 2 hours a day or something, and like it's like somewhat of a healthy amount, you might be like, holy crap, I wanna play more, right? I've noticed this. So it's like, yeah, if you're chronically online for 15 years, like myself, you might think of what, you might look at WoW differently, like, holy crap, there's so many things that could be better or improve. But if you're kind of getting into it for the first time and playing here and there, it's like, whew, this is like the healthy amount that like feels incredible to play.
And you know what? A lot of those criticisms seem totally legitimate. That's why I told myself, starting here in episode 3, I don't want to act like Classic WoW is perfect. I want to make sure that I'm not just highlighting the good, but that I'm being honest about any disappointments that I run into. And that's good timing, because at this point in my playthrough, I started running into all kinds of disappointments. As I continued leveling, I kept encountering scenarios where the game introduced a new exciting thing to me, building it up like something amazing was coming, only to yank the rug out from under me over and over. If there was ever a point where I would start to sour on Classic WoW, it would be right here and now. But
totally.
I'm sorry, somehow the disappointments made this game even better. I don't know what to tell you. I think I'm broken. I can't stop being positive. These issues just made me like the game more.
I mean, so someone in the chat said it. Does that theory include Minecraft time played? Totally. I'm sure there's things, if you play enough Minecraft, that become annoying. But for me, as a first-time Minecrafter, I'm like, this world is amazing. Holy crap, what a great game. But I'm sure if you've played Minecraft for 15 years, there's things about it that might annoy you, right? It's just how it goes. You notice those idiosyncrasies the longer you play something. I feel like I said that wrong twice. I'm not gonna try again. Let's play the video.
We're going to get into all of that very shortly, but before we jump into today's adventure, this video is sponsored by War Thunder. War Thunder is the most comprehensive vehicle combat game of all time, available to play for free on PC, consoles, and mobile devices today. You guys probably know by now, I love games that have anything to do with history, military strategy, and PvP combat, and this game has all of the above, featuring over 2,500 different types of tanks, planes, helicopters, and ships from 10 major nations, everything ranging from biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to fighter jets and battle tanks from the modern era. This is a title that is filled with some incredible detail. I can't help but love how every vehicle in this game is straight up modeled down to its individual components, stuff like engines, fuel tanks, weapons, and crew, and the game will track the damage that each one of them takes from different types of enemy fire, all behaving basically as true to life as a simulation game can get. There is an incredible amount of effort that's been put into creating authentic graphics and sound effects and combat from all these different weapons of war, not to mention all the customization options that let you stand out among the over 95 million players War Thunder boasts across its worldwide community. If you're any kind of fellow history buff, this is a title that is well worth your time to try out. Just make sure you sign up using my links in the pinned comment or description down below, since new players as well as returning PC and console players who've taken at least...
I think I should move my camera not here, because I think G-Bay, like I'll be covering G-Bay's head half the time. So I guess we'll go here for this video. Sorry, G-Bay, you can continue. Sorry to interrupt.
A 6-month break will receive a massive bonus pack that includes multiple premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 Silver Lions, and 7 days of premium account. But all of this is only available for a limited time, so make sure you sign up using my links down below today. Thanks again to War Thunder for sponsoring the channel, but now back to the video. Okay, so quick recap of where we last left the series off. After getting hooked on trying to solve the mystery of the Defias Brotherhood and the corruption plaguing the city of Stormwind, I had to level a lot further if I wanted to continue that main narrative, which is how I found myself running through a flurry of great moments in our last episode. We went through everything from solving the legend of Stalvin's creepy mystery, to setting foot in the beautiful wetlands for the first time, to hearing about the saddest story in all of gaming through Sven's revenge. There was actually so much that happened during my last play session, I couldn't even fit it all into the video. Some of the simpler quests, like the one where I got a library book as a drop in Duskwood that I was supposed to take back to Stormwind, that didn't feel nearly as pressing compared to all the other grand narratives I got to see.
Bro, you guys can call me crazy, but watching these Duskwood quests play out is making me crave to like make another character soon. I just adore Elwyn, Westfall, Duskwood, Redridge, Stranglethorn Alliance, like 1 to 30. Something. Oh man, I miss it. Like, 'cause I remember when I was watching G-Bay's video from a few weeks ago, or like I guess it was like 2 months ago or something. I was leveling my lock and I was doing these quests, and I was like, oh, I just did that yesterday. And now it's been like a month or two, and it's like, man, it's been a while.
But of course, the most important thing that happened recently was I became rich when we got a super rare drop that sold for almost 70 gold at the auction house. And thank God you guys told me before that I should be selling drops like this at the auction house, or I probably would have vendored it. Speaking of your guys' comments, I'm still trying to play through this series as unguided as possible, but I have appreciated a few of the tips you've provided, and not just because some of them made me rich. Recent comments have been teaching me even more helpful things, like I don't need to be using an add-on to track threat after all. I can just turn on this setting that shows the target of my target instead, keeping our whole playthrough totally add-on free. Not to mention,
I mean, you still might want a threat meter, but the target of target's also good, but like I mean, you don't need one, but if you, I guess threat's good to know too.
That's right, nameplates are now on. From here on out, I'm gonna actually be able to see all the enemy health bars outside of the selected mob that I'm currently fighting. Thank you so much for telling me to turn that on. I actually have a memory from very early on in my playthrough where I think I accidentally hit V on my keyboard turning nameplates on, but I was still so new to the game back then that I kind of thought, oh, that looks so cluttered, I don't like that, and then I just started mashing my keyboard until I hit something that turned them back off. But now I totally see the value in actually knowing how much health every enemy has. Thank you very much for telling me to turn them back on.
Bro, my next character is gonna be a warrior. I know I've done so many, but oh my gosh, it looks so fun to play warrior.
It's things like this that make me want to make sure my playthrough isn't completely blind. Without your help, I would have missed out on so much of this game, including, holy hell, World of Warcraft has fishing. When you guys told me that fishing was another secondary skill I could pick up, I had no choice. I'm a skiller through and through, so I naturally dropped everything I was working on just to try and max out my fishing ASAP. I spent an hour or so in Elwyn Forest, leveling from 1 to 75, before then heading over to Red Ridge, grinding out some more. Gosh, there is something about this kind of grind in a game that just gets me going. I don't know what it is I love so much, but getting to slowly progress toward improving a skill that takes hours to grind out, but feeling accomplished as you put in the kind of time that other players might not have the patience for, and being rewarded with more unlocks for all the effort you put in. That's what MMOs are all about. At least
that's why this guy loves RuneScape. That's what RuneScape's all about. I just learned about fishing. It's all right.
in my book, and it makes me so happy every time I discover a new system in WoW that lets me do something like that outside of the basic combat and total level. I also love when you get to do grinds like this alongside other players, chatting as each one of you works toward your own separate goals. This night elf was super cool too. We just chilled outside this dock fishing for about an hour or so before they eventually had to leave, but before they left, they DM'd me saying that they had seen my videos and liked my series, which was really sweet. I gotta mention that actually, so many of you guys have seen me log into game and sent me nice DMs, and I don't know how to turn DMs off, so I've just been reading through every single comment, but they're all so nice. I've even gotten in-game mail from you too, which not only has included more nice comments encouraging me to keep the series going, but you guys also haven't even tried to spoil my playthrough by sending me gold or useful—
I was literally just about to pause the video and ask, like, a minute ago, what is he doing about people trying to, like, send over 500 gold? And then it's just like, that really makes it not feel authentic, right? He's not playing self-found because it's not hardcore, which, by the way, Blizzard, please add a self-found option to Era. That'd be sick. But yeah, I would assume and hope that, like, you would just return it, but then it gets awkward. It's like, this is a gift, and it's like, but I'm trying to not do gifts. It's like, you know, it gets to this weird, like, okay. Anyway, hopefully we just don't do that.
Items or something like that. You've just been sending me cool things like a spyglass I can use to see stuff super far away, or a little parrot. I didn't even realize there's pets in this game. WoW just keeps impressing me every time I log in. It is insane how good this game is at distracting you from whatever you're working toward. I mean, I was fully prepared to put the entire series on hold until I got 300 fishing, but by the time I hit 150, the fishing trainer in Red Ridge said that I had to go to some place called Darrowshire to continue leveling. I don't know where that is, but that gives us another good goal to add to our series.
Man, that's such a good thing about Classic WoW. You can't, like, it'll be like, okay, now you're max and you have to go there, but like when you're traveling there, you're gonna hit like another 150 things on your way of like, well, I'll do this quick quest and then this and then this and then this and then this, and by the time you get there, you're like doing something completely different and you forget why you were there in the first place. W Classic WoW.
Make sure we find wherever the hell Darrowshire is so I can max my fishing and get the skill cape. But of course, our biggest goal of the series, as set out in last episode, is to find a new story to care about each episode, the way we care about the Defias Brotherhood narrative that hooked me so hard all the way back at the start. And today's an exciting moment because we can finally continue that narrative.
Cool.
We've already learned quite a bit of history in how the leaders of the Alliance hired the stonemasons to rebuild Stormwind many years ago, but when the corrupt House of Nobles refused to let the city pay any of the workers, they were all but forced to leave, broke and seeking vengeance. This is what spawned the Defias Brotherhood gang, who were plotting to destroy the capital in retribution before we plunged into the Deadmines, slaying their leader, Edwin Van Cleef. After meeting up with Edwin's childhood friend to learn more about what was going on, we were told to look for Basil Thread, Van Cleef's lieutenant, who was currently being held in the Stormwind Stockades. I then learned the Stockades are the second dungeon I'm going to encounter in-game, and honestly, I am so hyped to run through it. Not only does this dungeon mark the next step in the Grand Defias narrative that we're following, and not only is this coming off the heels of Deadmines, which already set my expectations sky high for how good the dungeons in this game will be, but as I began running running around the various human zones, grinding out levels to get prepared for Stockades, I kept bumping into
It's tough because it's like Dead Mines is just so good, and then Stocks is just
NPCs that were giving me more quests for this dungeon that made it all the more exciting. One guard in Redridge told me an orc named Targor the Dread is being held there, as he was apparently sentenced to be executed until a mysterious noble stepped in, putting a hold on his sentencing, leaving us to go in and finish the job ourselves. Then there was a council person in Duskwood who told me they too had sentenced a person to death, Dextrin Ward, who was caught selling bodies from the cemetery to Morbent Fell until the House of Nobles again put a hold on his execution. Lastly, I ran into a poor lady in Stormwind who was bereaved as her grandson was a guard in the Stockades that had—
I just adore like the text slowly coming up, like the instant quest text option is turned off, so it has to like slowly go down. I could just see Jibe sitting there like clicking on someone and just like reading it. Like, I love that, man.
Been reprimanding some Defias prisoners who then murdered him in response, begging me to go in and slay some more Defias for revenge. The fact I was already so hyped to dive into the dungeon, and then the game kept giving me more mysterious narratives that were apparently all going to converge when I dove in, it just did such a good job of getting me excited. I even turned down a free shortcut. At one point, while I was selling some stuff at the auction house, a random person DM'd me asking if I wanted a free boost through the Stockades, since apparently he was practicing learning how to boost people. That kind of sounds a little bit like cheating to me. I don't know what WoW players think about this. If boosting each other is allowed, maybe it's fine, but
I mean, it's fine, but you kind of grief your whole like blind playthrough idea if you're gonna AFK and get boosted. It's completely fine if it's your 10th character and whatever, but if you're trying to like play the game for playing the game itself, the fun in itself of just playing the game, it griefs that, right?
regardless, I turned him down. If Stockades was just a random room where I had to kill a few elite mobs, then I might accept some help from a higher level player, but the game had done such a good job of building tension, signaling to me that this was going to be an exciting turning point in the story, so I wanted to experience it naturally. Also, side note, I have seen all the comments you guys have been leaving in recent videos telling me WoW's community isn't as nice as I think it is, but I just want to take this opportunity.
WoW community is arguably more toxic than League ever was. People are being nice because you're new. A bit of a warning, there is a toxic element to the community. WoW community is at least just as toxic as League. Is this true? L take, lol, lies. I feel like I'm okay, maybe I'm just the wrong person to ask because I'm a WoW streamer. I feel like the WoW community is pretty chill. I mean, obviously people can be toxic, duh. But when you compare it to like classic WoW to like League or like some of these other games, like competitive games, it's just a different level of toxic. Because in classic WoW, there's no huge level of competition. Of course you have parsing and of course you have speedruns, but that's just so minimal compared to like an actual rating system attached, which is why I don't want rating in Classic Plus, by the way. Like when you have that like on the line every game, it's a different level. You know what I mean? Different level. Yeah, maybe retail might be a bit more toxic because retail does have those things like Mythic Plus score, like IO and like Rated Battleground, Solo Shuffle. These things create toxic environments because you're passionate, you care, you want to win, you want to, improve, and like when someone griefs your game, you get mad, right? But with classic WoW, it's different. Once again, the toxicity is there, but I do think, and I'm biased here, but I would go out on a limb and say that the classic WoW community is a little less toxic than a lot of other ones because people are just playing the game to experience the world, and there's no rating attachments and there's no like winning and losing. You just kind of like log in and play.
To tell you, you're all wrong. Even the cheaters in this game are nicer than the normal players I've seen in every other game I've played. This is an amazing community. Anyway, all that being said, we have finally hit a high enough level to dive into the Stockades and see everything for ourselves. I'm pretty sure I picked up all of the additional quests I can do, and seeing as I'm in the upper echelon of recommended levels, I should have no problem running it even if I have to tank again as a warrior. So I head over to the Stockades, where I learn from the warden that apparently a riot has broken out under Basil Thread's command, making it a bit difficult for us to speak with him. That's where the dungeon part of this comes in. It is my job, as ushered by the warden, to go into the prison and quell the riots, slaying Basil and returning with his head. So I start looking for a group, which doesn't take too long to fill out. And as I wait, I'm just getting all the more excited sitting here, watching these guards prepare for the threat lurking beneath, seeing that there's a body of another player lying around. Gosh, can the riot actually break out of the dungeon? This is looking so hype. We finally fill the group. I'm the tank, and I run in, guns a-blazing.
Disappointment. There's no way he's not disappointed, right? It's Stocks.
Not enough rage. Need more rage. More rage.
Oh, this is tough. This is a tough watch.
Not enough rage. Need more rage.
Okay, to be honest, this dungeon was disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if this is a bad take or something.
Good take. Yeah, Stocks is fine to dislike. That's it's a filler episode. It's a filler thing. It's like Gohan when he's in high school. What is it, Saiyaman or whatever? It's like it's just that kind of there.
Like maybe I'm about to besmirch a beloved classic dungeon that WoW players adore, but Stocks felt nowhere near as good as I thought it would be. For all the hype the game built telling me that I was about to put an end to all these mysterious problems the House of Nobles was causing, where I was supposed to fight.
I've upsetted a few Saiyaman fans in the chat. Guys, look, I'm not trying to disrespect Saiyaman, but those were filler episodes.
And execute all of these notorious enemies of the Alliance who presumably were powerful forces to be reckoned with. There was none of that to be found here. Like, the Deadmines by comparison had this whole narrative arc to it where I was sent delving deeper and deeper underground, first through the mining tunnels before entering some huge goblin smelting room, before then getting the grand reveal of this huge underground cavern and Van Cleef's weapon of mass destruction he was about to use to destroy Stormwind. The Stockades didn't have any of that. It was just rooms with guys inside. None of the NPCs were particularly tough to take down. I didn't even notice if any of them had special mechanics I was supposed to be playing around, and there certainly wasn't any kind of grand narrative I noticed. I mean, it was just a bunch of open cells with bad guys to kill. Not only that, but the ceiling in the actual dungeon itself was super low, so I even had trouble moving the camera around to see everything I was supposed to kill.
Valid.
With all the tight corridors I had to go down to make sure we eliminated every NPC inside. At least it didn't seem that difficult. I mean, we made it through without any issues and killed Basil alongside all the other bad guys I was told to take down. Except one of the quests the warden gave me to kill a bunch of Defias Brotherhood involved slaying 8 Defias convicts, but only 4 of them spawned in the entire dungeon.
Yeah, they do RNG spawn, so sometimes you have to do it again to get the rest. Yeah, I mean, is it fair? Fair criticisms, fair.
I have to run it again if I want to complete this quest. Oh God, this was my first real disappointment in classic World of Warcraft.
Fair enough.
I'm sorry to say. The game built so much hype for this dungeon, tying it to a big narrative, throwing all these additional mystery quests into it as well. It made me so hyped and built all this excitement that grew and grew until I was on the edge. But then it just stopped. There was no satisfying payoff. I kind of hated it. And hilariously enough, this was not the only disappointment I was about to experience in this episode, as I said in the intro. In hindsight, it's kind of insane that classic was about to hand me one disappointment after another in pretty quick succession. But don't worry, by the end of the episode, even these disappointments are going to turn into an element of classic that I weirdly kind of appreciate, although we're still a very long way off from that. For now, I was just frustrated. I felt a little bitter, like there was a bad taste in my mouth, and I wanted to go experience some quest or narrative that wouldn't leave me wanting at the end. But thankfully, I had just the idea. If there was any quest line I knew that couldn't possibly end on a dumb cliffhanger, it was finishing the Defias narrative and finally figuring out what was going on with all the corruption in Stormwind. After defeating Basil and reporting back to the Warden, he thanked me for quelling the uprising before letting a bit of information slip. Apparently, a few months ago, a mysterious figure started visiting Basil about once or twice a week. This man, who went by the name Malik, may be the next clue in uncovering whatever plot is going on. I take the name and a brief description of the figure back to Barrows Alexton, who doesn't recognize him, but he sends me to Matthias Shaw of SI7, who does. It turns out Malik is actually a fellow assassin named Marzone, who's currently employed by Lord Gregor Leskovar, a notoriously corrupt member of Stormwind's House of Nobles, corrupt even by House of Nobles standards. Matthias is curious about what Marzone and Leskovar are doing and sends me off to another rogue, Elling Trias, who currently is undercover at a nearby food shop as a master of cheese. So I relay the story to him, and he tells me that we can divvy out some less than legal justice to both Leskovar and Marzone. I just need to meet up with his agent, a gnome named Tyrion, in Stormwind Keep. So far, this story has basically just been a long game of telephone where I'm playing errand boy, running messages from one NPC to another, which would be kind of annoying or tedious normally, but I actually kind of like it here. This doesn't feel like a typical boring message delivery quest nearly as much as it feels like I'm slowly uncovering this grand conspiracy that's larger than any one person and requires a massive network of people to even attempt to take down. Anyway, I head up north to the big cathedral in the city center by Barrows Alexton's house because I thought that big church in the middle of the city was Stormwind Keep, where all the rulers and important people were. But on rereading the—
Dude, it's like, when Jibei started this series, he inspired me to do my no questy run, which I did on the lock, and I did it, and it was great. We did 160, and even after 60 with no questy, and read the quests, and you can do all of them without questy, turns out, and it's really fun. So thank you to Jibei for inspiring me to do that. And now, watching this like 2 months later, it's making me want to do it again. Like, I'm just like, holy crap. It's like, makes me want to level another character. Watching him read all these and like run around and tournament, it's like, oh my gosh.
Quest dialogue as well as the street signs, I realize that is not the case. Stormwind Keep is actually this massive castle overlooking Old Town that I somehow never noticed. Talk about missing something right in front of my face. As I head to the keep, I immediately get flashbacks to my retail experience where I was sent here when I got to meet up with Jaina Proudmoore and Anduin Rin, kicking off my big fun adventure through Coltyrus, so I'm actually getting pretty hyped again. This building is clearly where a bunch of big important stuff is always going down. I then notice on my minimap there's a quest marker guiding me over to a little garden inside the keep where my contact, Tyrion, is hiding behind a brush. After relaying the story for the upteenth time, Tyrion lays out a plan that he and Elling had been working on, involving a little spy bot. I just need to get a few more items for a disguise. So I head off to get some silk and apples, which again might seem like an unimaginative fetch quest, but because it's tied to this grand story, it's just building more hype for me. Any disappointment that I felt coming off Stockades has completely left my body, as I can't wait to put an end to Stormwind's corruption once and for all. After some searching, I find the required items before returning to my contact.
That's pretty impressive if you found those apples without the lookup. I mean, I wonder how long it took them. Probably at least 10 minutes, right? 15, 20?
Act 2 lets another part of the story slip. Apparently, Tyrion and Elling had already been investigating Leskovar for an unrelated connection to something called the Twilight's Hammer they believed he had, not even knowing he also had ties to the Defias Brotherhood. Either way, now is the time for him to face justice. Tyrion will use the items I brought to disguise his spy bot, who will then go and lure Leskovar out into this garden. The Lord should then dismiss the guard guards shortly after so he can meet with Marzone, at which point I'll have the opportunity to attack, slaying both of them. I just need to stay hidden until the time is right, at which point the gnome will give me the signal. I'm a little nervous about this plan because as a warrior, I always have trouble fighting more than one enemy at a time, and I don't know what level each one of them will be, but it's too late to back out now. The spybot is
Level 28 warrior with world buff. He has Dragon Slaying. Against, I think it's a 32 and a 31, if I'm remembering correctly. He's gonna die, right? He's probably gonna die. He's gonna die.
Transformed into some noble lady who goes into the library to meet with Lescavar while I hide out in the garden. It seems to take a while, and I wonder what's going on in there when I notice there's a quest dot marker on my minimap. I thought I was supposed to stay hidden, but maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I need to go in and watch a cutscene or interact with something to continue the narrative, so I decide to run in.
Shouldn't need to.
Wait, no, that's the quest to deliver the library book from earlier. Shoot, my bad. I run back out and hide in the bushes again. Very happy to see I apparently did not ruin our plan, as the Lord comes out shortly after, dismissing the guards so he can meet with the assassin. Marzone shows up shortly after to inform Lescavar that Van Cleef sends word about their plans being underway, although someone's been snooping about. And before I have time to realize he's talking about me, I'm ordered by Tyrion to put an end to all of this. And oh gosh, they're level 30 and 31. There's no way I can actually do this, right? Do I ruin the whole plan if I die here? I quickly run in and begin trying to take them down, and thankfully I have one of my
bro gamer. He has demo, retail instantly, world buff. He's a yo, we can do this.
More important abilities up, retaliation. This is a pretty wild warrior skill that puts a shield of swords around me that instantly counterattack all enemies that hit me in melee range for 15 seconds or for a maximum of 30 counterattacks. What makes this ability so wild though is that it has a 30-minute cooldown. I thought Flash in League of Legends having a 3-minute cooldown was absurd. How does WoW have abilities that are so important and powerful that can only be used once every half hour? That's
lay on hands, bro. Lay on hands.
Kind of amazing. The fight is really close. I managed to take one of them down and nearly die doing so, but managed to scrape by alive thanks to retaliation. And luckily, I have a health potion on me that allows me to heal up just enough that I can also slay the other foe too. I actually have no idea how I did this. I was only level 28, but I'm so glad I managed to take them.
I'm sorry for doubting you. Holy crap. I'm sorry. Most new players at 28 are dying there. I mean, he did have world buff, and that's how, and you know, he sent the potion in retail, but I'm just saying, most new players are dying there. He did the insta retail, insta demo shout, and used the potion. He did what he's supposed to do. It worked out for him. W Chibe.
Both down. If all that buildup left me unable to complete the quest and I just died or something, I would have been so sad, but it looks like we are finally getting a payoff. The noble and assassin are now dead, and I'm sent back off to Elling to deliver the good news. He then bounces me back to Matthias, where I report the two enemies' demise, where the rogue assures me I just did the people of Stormwind a great favor, even though I'm actually feeling a little bit hollow inside. I mean, that one noble wasn't the main source of all the corruption in Stormwind, right? Have I actually solved anything by killing him? Matthias warns me not to tell anyone I was the person who killed the noble, as if to confirm my suspicions before sending me back to Alexston. But any worries in the back of my mind fly right out the window as Barros Alexston tells me he's giving me a report to take to the king, telling me to deliver it to Stormwind Keep, informing him of everything that's occurred with the Defias and House of Nobles personally. This is so cool. I don't think I've seen a king in the Warcraft universe since Arthas succeeded his father all the way back in Reign of Chaos. For all the adventuring I've done so far, I didn't even realize there was a king in Stormwind Keep. When I went to do my mission, the quest shot me over to the garden and library, leaving me blissfully unaware I had just missed out on seeing the throne room right ahead. The report seems like a good summary of everything that's occurred so far. Maybe this is where the story can finally resolve, where the stonemasons can be paid reparations and everything can get wrapped up in a nice tidy bow. So I'm giddy as I take the report and run straight for the keep, this time heading straight down the hall, ready to meet whoever the ruler of all the land is. But then where's the king? I thought he was supposed to be here. It's not this kid, right? Okay, so in the center of the throne room, there's some general guy, some noble lady, and a boy who is the king for now, I guess? I actually recognize the kid, Anduin Rin. That's the guy who eventually becomes the king of Stormwind. I saw him when I tried retail and being kicked off with that big cinematic of him crying in The War Within. But he can't be the king now, right? There's no way he's who I'm supposed to deliver this report
to.
King of
My
quest marker tells me to speak to Lady Katrana Prestor, an important looking person who's kind of a jerk, just glaring at me for no reason. I hand her the report and she says I should be commended for my work. If Van Cleef had been successful, he would have done considerable harm to the kingdom, something that should be obviously avoided. Okay, what the hell is with this terrible writing? The writing in WoW has been so good up until now, but suddenly this lady is speaking in the dumbest, most stilted way possible. And
wait, that's actually kind of cool. I never noticed that. The fact that he noticed without knowing that's Ani is like kind of sick, right? That's kind of sick that he noticed.
Not only that, she also tells me the king is apparently away on a diplomatic...
Yeah, that's actually goated. Yeah, that's actually sick that he noticed.
...mission and isn't returning for some time, so she has to be the one to give me this ring as a token of appreciation for all my hard work. I mean, the ring is awesome. It's a really great upgrade compared to anything else I had, but that's it? Is that really the end of the story? There's no follow-up quest? That can't actually be the grand finale, can it? What about the stonemasons? What about the rest of the corruption in the city? The game just got me so hyped to see the king, but he's not even here. That's a whole new mystery I don't even know how to solve. Once again, World of Warcraft built up this exciting hype narrative just to yank a satisfying...
Oh, I have to say though, this is actually sick. Like knowing more than Jibei knows. The fact that you walk up and there's no king and it's just a boy, and the fact that Katrina Prestor is like kind of being vague and weird. To the greater story, it's actually a W, but to the small story, it kind of sucks, you know?
Conclusion out from under me a second time. I was left on edge again. The game keeps edging me. Now I'm left with more questions than answers. I guess when it comes to our goal of finding a story to care about each episode, I technically did that here. I definitely cared about this story, and I care about finding a way to finish it because I refuse to believe that's the end. But I can't stop playing now. That can't be how the video ends. I just got hit with 2 awful disappointments back to back. I need something satisfying to cleanse my palate. That's why at this point, I made a resolution that I would not stop playing World of Warcraft or wrap this video up until I found something that gave me a satisfying narrative payoff. Either that or until I find Darrowshire so I can get back to fishing. But unfortunately, things were gonna somehow get even worse from here on out.
No.
Okay, so the first thing I did was just open up my quest log, trying to find as many tasks as possible to knock out one after another, hoping that one of them would end up with a satisfying climax. Seeing as I was still here in Stormwind for the time being, I figured maybe the first task should be to knock out that last Stockades quest I never got to finish. Yeah, I don't know why I thought that a second run of Stockades would lead to anything other than more disappointment. This one was even worse. I had to sit around for like half an hour just trying to find a group that wanted to run the dungeon legit, since apparently everyone gets boosted through this one. Eventually, I did find a group and we ran the dungeon, no problem, but obviously there wasn't really anything special of note here, just killing the same bad guys in the same boring dungeon, and this quest didn't even have any kind of follow-up. It was just a nice chunk of XP as a reward. The one exciting thing that did happen this time around was I managed to get my first neck slot item, the Basalt Necklace of the Bear, which seems pretty good for my level. With how disappointing everything else had been, this drop felt like Christmas morning when I got it. After finally being freed from the last...
In Classic WoW, when you get your first head, neck, or cloak, sick. Great feeling.
Last of my quests in the Stockades, I tried to think about where else I could go to find a storyline that had more great narrative potential, and I did have one idea. Earlier on in my playthrough, when I first set foot in the wetlands, I ran into a Dwarven mining party up on the side of a cliff.
Guys, getting your first cloak, when it's like, okay, maybe this wasn't me. Hold on, let me share my experience. I remember when I was a kid, and I had all these dinky little cloaks on, you know, the little tiny ones, like an orange triangle. And then you get a cloak drop like the bright cloak, or, you know, that nice long cloak. It's green, it has some stats on it. It's a big deal. First long cloak that's like flowing down your back, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's a cloak. That's what I meant by cloak. But yeah, shoulders, even better.
for excavating something when they got trapped by dinosaurs. As cool as the dinosaurs were, I cut this quest line from last episode since it seemed like a relatively simple issue of just slaying some mobs and getting some XP as a reward. But then I remembered one of the notes I had to carry calling for help from Menethil Harbor mentioned that the mining team had excavated some Titan artifacts, which is what caused the raptors to begin swarming them. Which, if I remember my lore correctly, aren't the Titans basically the gods of WoW? Like Sargeras was a Titan who created the Burning Legion, right? That's definitely something I could sink my teeth into. I'm a huge lore nerd when it comes to in-universe mythologies like this. When I was a kid, I probably worshipped Gothics so much back in RuneScape that I broke the first commandment. If you ever wondered why I quit RuneScape around the time of RS3, now you know. So I ran up to the wetlands, seeing if there was any kind of follow-up quest I missed, because a big epic adventure uncovering god artifacts is the exact kind of quest line that would make for a satisfying finale to the video, except I couldn't find anything. Maybe I'm not a high enough level for whatever quest comes next, or maybe this was just a one-off thing with nothing more to do, but either way, this was a brick wall. At this point, I just tried to go process of elimination and began knocking out as many quests as I could do in an attempt to find something worthwhile, and I did eventually run into one interesting bright spot. Later on, I went back to Red Ridge to do what I thought was my last quest in the zone, one telling me to slay 15 Blackrock champions in a camp north of Lakeshire, when I ran into a lost human
Corporal
NPC,
Keishan.
Corporal Keishan. I recognized this name.
Keishan.
When I first set foot in Red Ridge, I saw there were two signs outside of the inn, one that gave me a quest to kill Lieutenant Fangor, while the other seemed to just be a note saying that a local corporal had gone missing.
This is so impressive to me. When, like, I do not possess this at all. Like, when you go into a town and you read a note and then later you're like, oh, that's the same note that I read earlier, like piecing that together, I would have just forgot. Is it, like, type 1 in the chat if you're like me, if there's no way you ever remember this guy's name, or type 2 if you're like Jibe and you would totally piece that together and be like, oh, cool. Okay, so there are a lot of ones too. I'm not like crazy here, but like dude, I'm so impressed by the 2s out there, the 2 people. My wife is a 2. Well, my wife is a 10, but my wife is a 2 person. Like, she remembers names like this. Anyway, she's beautiful, but good. Okay.
This sign for the corporal didn't have any quest attached to it, so I thought it was just flavor, something Blizzard added to the world to emphasize the dire state that Red Ridge found itself in. But no, there actually was a Corporal Keishan up here in this cave, and he gave me a quest to escort him back to Red Ridge safely. Now, this certainly wasn't a disappointment. It was genuinely cool the way that this quest was given to me, and I had another great community interaction with a guildmate and a stranger who helped me complete it. But even this was kind of a disappointment narratively speaking, because it wasn't some grand adventure I was tasked to go on. It was just a simple escort mission. Although if I thought that was bad, it was about to get even worse. My brain must have...
I wonder if the difference between the 1 and the 2 is literally just like type A, type B, you know, personalities. The go, 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 go versus the... Probably is. Probably very similar.
Just been broken at this point from one disappointment after the next, because for some reason I thought maybe it would be exciting if I returned that lost library book I had in my inventory. As I made my way back to Stormwind, I also found a guy in the Cathedral Town Center who apparently needed a book checked out from the library too, as he's about to give some speech on metallurgy or something and could use it to assist him. Perfect. Those are 2 great, very exciting grand adventures. So I go to Stormwind Keep, turning in the lost library book and finding out the book that the speech guy needs is currently on loan to Northshire Abbey. Of course, that means I have to run all the way from Stormwind to Northshire, since there is no flight point to Elwyn Forest, only to learn that the monk at the Abbey...
I just love quests like these, though. So you're level 29, you're a human warrior, you've come a long way, you know, you've played for a few weeks or whatever, and it has you run to the starting zone. It's just brilliant, in my opinion. You go to the starting zone and you see a bunch of new players making their characters for the first time, and you're like, oh, I was just a level 1, and now look how strong I got. All these wolves, like, you can then one-shot. The world doesn't scale with you, so you feel strong and powerful. And at the same time, those level 1s see you, and maybe they're a new player, they've never played before, and you have shoulders on and a helmet and a long cloak, and it's like, what is their level 29 doing here? Like, gives them something to to aspire towards. It's such good game design, right? Game loses this at some point where all the high levels just sit in the high level area and all the low levels are like out leveling in some sharded area where you don't see anyone else at all, or maybe only other low levels, but like it just separates all the players. I love this, right? TBC, yeah, TBC, it kind of happens, right? All the high levels are in Outlands, aside coming in briefly for Kara, but you don't really see him too much. And then all the low levels are like in the old world. That's why TBC hardcore doesn't hit the same, because when you're playing, you don't actually see the high levels playing. You just see a bunch of other low levels playing, and all the high levels are segmented. They're completely off. They're out in Outlands. It's like in TBC, automatically that feeling is lost. Yeah, so that's why Classic Plus, someone's like, oh, should you do Outlands in Classic Plus? Like, no way, dude. Keep everyone in Azeroth, right?
But you can't give me the book until he uses it to make some new ink, and he's all out of Wrathbane ore he needs, so I have to run all the way to Redridge to pick some up. When I reach Redridge, the guy whose job it is to have Wrathbane ore doesn't have any Wrathbane ore, meaning I have to go deep into a cavern to acquire some, before then running all the way back to Elwyn to trade the ore for the book, and then running all the way back to Stormwind to finally complete the quest chain. This was for the grand reward of receiving some caster boots that might have been as useless as anything I could have gotten at this point. Okay, as annoyed as I was, there actually was one really cool thing about this quest I loved. The fact that I could have gotten the Wrathbane ore I needed from this cavern by either mining the mining nodes or by getting it from drops through killing mobs. That was actually really awesome. That meant there were multiple solutions to this puzzle, one involving basic combat, but one that allowed me to completely bypass combat if I wanted to through having a certain profession. That was really cool to see. This quest kind of felt like it was an immersive sim or something. Am I playing World of Warcraft or Deus Ex here? But that aside, talk about a disappointing anticlimactic quest line. I had to run on foot through all these regions just to do busy work that seemed so mundane and trivial. Actually, looking back on it now, all of these disappointments I've had in Classic WoW have basically been because of that. I thought I was a big, important adventurer braving epic quests, but so many of the quests I run into keep me feeling small. The Stockades wasn't a grand narrative where I got to solve mysteries. It was just a typical prison riot that I had to put down without much fanfare.
Okay, I put it together. When he played retail a few months ago, his problem was that like he was like the savior of the world and he was just the greatest thing ever. But he's enjoying in Classic that he's not the main guy, at least right now. He's kind of just like a side story, and he kind of appreciates that in a game. I think that's what he's gonna say, at least. That's what I'm guessing. That he appreciates it's not just like, oh, you do one quest here, give you a legendary sword. Another quest here, let's give you like, you know, full epics. It's like, no, I'm gonna give you some useless boots. That was helpful. Thanks for getting the ore for me. Here's some cloth boots that you can vendor for 10 silver. I think what he's going to say is he appreciates that. It's not just like shoving it down your throat of like, here's a full bis loot, you're the best thing ever, you're saving the world, oh my gosh, like all these other MMOs, you know?
Fi's conclusion didn't make me feel like a hero. As big as that story was, I was kept small, given very simple tasks to do, with the one heroic thing being something I'm not even allowed to talk about, all for an ending that seemingly went over my head. Everything else too. The wetlands discovery felt like a grand narrative, but one I'm apparently not allowed to take part in yet. Corporal Keishan's rescue was a simple escort mission that—
Guys, no, everyone's saying pre-watch. I haven't pre-watched anything. I've read the title and I've read his other I watched his other videos why he didn't like retail as much, and that was one of his criticisms, and now he's already saying it. I haven't pre-watched it, but I can piece it together.
More like his story than mine, and running around for ages to find a library book, that's perhaps the least heroic thing I've done in my entire playthrough. But you know what? This is the moment that either my brain completely broke from all the disappointing buildups, or I realized this is kind of genius. See, the one theme that tied all of these disappointments together was that they made me feel small or like I wasn't the protagonist. I'm getting to peek at grand narratives, but not ones where I get to be a leading man. Most of the time, I'm treated like a helpful but replaceable person who's given tasks that anyone might be able to accomplish. And as much as that kept me feeling small and unimportant, it kind of made the world feel all the more big. This actually gets at the heart of a problem MMOs have always had, which is that MMOs by their nature want to have these grand epic worlds with wild storylines they send players on. But how can you make the player a hero who comes along and saves the world when there are literally millions of other heroes just like them all around? RuneScape is a masterclass in how to still tell great epic stories in an MMO. I'm sorry to bring up RuneScape again. I keep talking about RuneScape in my WoW videos. Specifically, if you've ever played old school RuneScape, you probably know the game has a running joke where all the NPCs openly acknowledge there are a bunch of annoying adventurers running around asking for quests. It's something so commonplace, it's clearly gotten on the nerves of most citizens in the world, and as a result, most NPCs refuse to give out quests or will only give players stupid little busy work that they can't be bothered to do. However,
I think some of the RuneScape dialogue was really good for that reason. Like, the writers of the dialogue play these little jokes on you, like just like Chibei's saying, and if you read it, it's just like, holy crap, that actually is funny. It's like a joke within a joke. It's like, man, this guy's annoying or something. It's like fantastic. I'm trying to think of more examples. But it's like it's littered all over the place in the quest. It's like, it's just great, man.
The game has still found a way to thread some huge world-defining narratives that include the player into major quest lines with a kind of funny trick. Namely, most of the bigger quest lines in the game start off when the player accidentally helps out a villain. For example, early on in the Elf quest line, players think that they're helping out the noble king of East Ardoin, who eventually sends you off to slay his brother as he tells you his brother is some evil foe causing havoc in the elven lands of Tiranan, only to learn after you kill his brother that the king you're helping is trying to summon the Dark Lord, and his brother was one of the last people standing in his way. It makes sense then that after you messed everything up, the actual good guys show up, all but demanding you assist them in correcting your mistake, and then you can be sent down an epic world-defining quest line with huge adventures and major rewards. And this setup lets you have the best of both worlds. The logic of this being an MMO still works, since there can be thousands of other adventurers all running around alongside you. It's just that you were the only one dumb enough to help the bad guy almost cause the end of the world. But with this setup, it still lets the player go on epic quests where they get to be a protagonist and forever change the physical land in a significant way. Obviously, I haven't really seen WoW use this setup of accidentally helping out a bad guy in my playthrough, but the trick that it's using might be just as genius. Namely, World of Warcraft is refusing to treat me like I'm the main character of every story. I need to grind out some of the more boring, kill a few dozen of this kind of mob type quests before I'm trusted to play a larger part in a more important quest line, and even then, I'm more of a supporting actor in most of these narratives. For example, starting off in Elwyn Forest, I had a ton of quests I had to do that were just guards telling me to help them kill kobolds or Defias bandits before I was ever trusted to do anything.
I love this. Yes, this is so true. It's not just like, hey, you, level 1 soldier, we need you on the front lines to save the world. Like, that's like, it's like, what? I love this in WoW. It's like, all right, yeah, we have a small problem at the mines to the north. Can you help us kill these kobolds? Like, they start you off really small because you are. It's like, it's great. I love that, you know?
Things slightly more important. This works for the logic of the game, since these guards are telling all the adventurers like me to go and help push back these hostile mobs, but since through the logic of the game, I'm special in that I've actually helped a significant amount, it makes sense that they would start trusting me with more responsibility, eventually so much so that I can help the People's Militia of Westfall try and take down the Defias in Moonbrook. This still allows WoW to have these grand narratives with epic adventures and conspiracies and events going on all across the world, while not breaking the illusion that there are thousands of other players experiencing them at the same time, like me. And in that context, you know, these disappointments kind of make the game even better because they make the world feel all the more big. The wetlands quests and rescuing Kishin and even finding that dumb library book all reinforced that I'm just a small person in a big world where other factions and NPCs are experiencing their own narratives that I can typically only assist in as a small helper. Stockades being nothing more than a simple prison riot also reinforced that I'm still a random adventurer with no special status. When I showed up at the Stockades Stockades, the warden thought I was just as likely to be an accomplice to the riot as much as I was some hero meant to solve everyone's problem. And as disappointing as it was to not meet the king at the end of the Defias questline, that certainly made me feel like there was so much more going on in the world that I haven't even discovered.
I wonder if this is another defining attribute of classic MMOs versus modern MMOs. The way I like to think about this, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, is they're almost two different genres at this point. You have MMOs, but then you have modern and classic designs. I feel like as old school RuneScape does this well and classic WoW does this well, I feel like some of the other like OG MMOs might as well. But a lot of the modern ones, no, like you're the hero, you're shoved right into the front lines, and it's like you get like this full epic loot within like an hour of playing the game, and it's just like you're the best. You know, I prefer the classic way, for sure.
Expanding Azeroth in my mind and making me all the more excited to see what else is out there. I don't know, maybe this is all just coping from how disappointing the Stockades was, but I genuinely think that any fantasy open world needs to keep the protagonist feeling small so the world can stay big. I mean, I've always assumed that's why J.R.R. Tolkien made the protagonists in The Lord of the Rings hobbits, people who are literally smaller compared to almost everything else out in Middle-earth. WoW has done a really good job of keeping me humble in that same sort of way. Even though I'm nearly halfway to max level now, I've never been told that I'm some hero here to save the Alliance. I'm mostly a side character in other people's stories, with the disappointments I feel coming from the fact that I just don't get the kind of resolution I might expect. But thankfully, the kind of exciting story with a satisfying resolution I'm after does still exist in the world, and I'm about to run into one right around the corner.
Woo! Stitchy. Hello, Stitchy.
The next area where I was sent searching for a big quest was Duskwood, and frankly, I should have just started my search here. This zone is so good. One of the narratives you guys mentioned I should follow up on is the quest line that continues with the hermit Abercrombie. Back in episode 2, I'd been sent by Madame Ava to check on an old hermit living nearby the Ravenhill Cemetery, and upon meeting him, he seemed like a nice enough guy who asked me to run an errand or two, since an old man such as himself wouldn't be able to brave all the threats roaming around. The first of those errands was finding the ghost hair thread, which we got with the help of Madame Ava from the nearby ghost Blind Mary, but it turns out that is not the only thing he needs done. On returning with the hair, the hermit then asked me to go and find some ghoul ribs, which is where we last left off. And although this may just look like another fetch quest that is no different than all the others I'd picked up, I was about to see that there was more to this quest line than one might expect. I made my way back out to the Ravenhill Cemetery in the pouring rain.
I don't want to set him up for disappointment here, but Duskwood has a lot of the game's best quest lines, I think. Not all of them, but Duskwood is like, I mean, it's my favorite zone in the game, I think. I don't necessarily know if it's just going to get like better from here or like the same or worse or like sometimes, maybe sometimes slightly better, but like Duskwood is just so good, you know?
And going around and slaying some ghouls.
Which, by the way, is why I prefer Alliance and Classic WoW, because it has Duskwood and Westfall and Redridge and Elwyn. Anyway.
To collect their ribs, and thankfully they are not dropped at the most annoying drop rate I've seen. Although one thing that is annoying is that some of these ghouls, when they die, they spawn these two tiny flesh eater things I have to kill, and I don't know how to select an enemy other than clicking on them, which can be tough to do because they're so small, and sometimes they hide underneath other mobs. Thankfully, that annoyance only killed me once before I finished collecting the rest of the ribs, returning to the hermit, who then told me that all of this is for some effigy he's building. That sounds a little suspicious, but he's just a nice old guy. How much harm can he do? Abercrombie then tells me a few weeks ago he was picking some herbs when a band of ogres attacked, forcing him to drop an important crate of tools he had on his person before fleeing. He asks me to go find the crate, and I'm happy to do so, as it should be found in one of the last few areas I haven't explored in Duskwood yet, this ogre encampment to the south. Although I also don't know what this big mysterious center of the map is either. I should actually mention mention that whoever designed this region did a great job of laying out all the content. Each new quest line has unveiled some new part of the map for me, which has gradually painted a picture as to what's going on in this zone, but there's still this big mysterious void that I haven't had a reason to go explore yet. It's really fitting that the most spooky and cursed region of the game so far has this weird spooky centerpiece on the map. Anyway, I head south to the ogres, and I'm kind of curious why ogres are here in Duskwood, spending a bit of time exploring their encampment, happy as it leads to finding some more mining nodes I can grab. I need to be catching up on my mining a little bit. I do manage to find one crate that at first I think is what I'm looking for, but then I realize it's just a food crate that has some healing items inside. It's a little annoying that I'm not getting the quest item I thought I was after, but again, I love seeing these little secret drops hidden around the world that reward exploration. I keep exploring, picking up some more mining nodes until I see a cave entrance, which I assume is the place that Abercrombie's crate is in. After fighting my way through a couple ogres, I have to pause, slightly shocked at how good the atmosphere is here. The dark red of the flames, the bones hanging from the ceiling. Blizzard sure as hell know how to build incredible atmosphere, even when they're so limited to what a computer can do graphically. This was all back in 2004. How did this game come out in 2004? That just blows me away every single episode. As I'm searching for the crate inside the cave, I grab some more mining nodes in the meantime when a random player trades me some resources, because again, the WoW community is the nicest in all of gaming. But after some more searching, I can't seem to find the crate, so I assume that I missed it outside and head back out to look for it a second time. My second pass around the ogre encampment yields...
It's like right there, right?
Absolutely nothing though, so I then head back inside the cave again, only to still not find the crate. I feel like a bit of an idiot here. I mean,
No, this is a hard one to find without Questy. This one's tough.
That many crate-like objects laying around, and I can't seem to figure out where it is. Part of me though does appreciate the fact it's not in some obvious location, because I actually have to search through all the rubbish on the ground that makes me notice and even appreciate the detail that some environmental artist at Blizzard put into crafting this part of the map all those years ago. Finally, I eventually stumble on the crate that was just outside the entrance to the cave I kept running in and out of. It was so heartbreaking to see when I was watching this footage back and seeing myself pass by it over and over. After getting Abercrombie's tools, I returned to the hermit, delivering them, which seems to be the last big task.
This was like what was kind of nice too, though. Like, how many times do you remember people saying like, where's Mancrick's wife? Or like, where's the crate? Like, people would talk in general chat and like maybe help each other out, and or like on Thoughtbot or whatever. But it wasn't just like this obvious, glowing, massive thing to click on with an arrow that took you right to it, this and that. It's like, you'd have to kill mobs for a while and talk to people, imagine, you know?
The hermit then seems very happy for some reason before giving me a note to go and take to the mayor of Darkshire. I head back.
Someone says it's different with Mancrick's wife. That wasn't about the quest. Wait, people were trolling this whole time? I thought people were looking for Mancrick's wife for the quest. Wait, this was some meta joke that went over my head for this whole time? No, people were definitely asking about the quest. They weren't like, it was always a meme? Dude, I mean, that makes sense. I just never thought about it that way. There's no way, bro.
To town to deliver the note, and as I've mentioned before, it's so cool that WoW lets you read messages that NPCs tell you to deliver to one another, learning more about the story and lore of what's going on, so I'm pretty eager to open this one.
That makes sense. Where's Mancrick's wife? Like, ha ha ha, kind of funny. Oh my god, I just never thought about it like that, not once.
Then I see the letters on the note flicker and dance across its surface, making it impossible to glean any information. I did not expect that. Talk about subverting expectations. Now I'm suddenly a little bit worried that maybe whatever Abercrombie's up to isn't anything good. On showing the note to the mayor, he seems pretty confused, as he's never heard of this person and certainly can't read whatever the note's about. So he tells me to take the note to the Darkshire historian, who translates it and tells me apparently Abercrombie has done something unspeakable. Greetings, Mayor of Darkshire. I have grave news for your town. I fooled the bearer of this note into aiding me in my latest, most dire creation, a fiend of flesh and bone
These
and
quests are so
twisted
good.
metal. As you read this, it's likely outside my humble dwelling, gnashing its teeth and waiting for my word to go forth and slaughter, but you'll know soon enough. The Embalmer. Okay. Oops. I take the letter back to the mayor, and he promptly tells me that although I may have been motivated by kindness, I kind of just doomed the town. He then informs me the Embalmer is the name of a person told in local folk tales. Apparently, he was a kind alchemist until he was driven mad by the death of his wife Eliza. After attempting to restore her to life using dark magic, he placed his own heart inside his dead spouse, succeeding in bringing her back, but cursing her to be a zombie with a hunger for human flesh, forcing the Embalmer to keep her buried deep in the earth. Okay, another...
Wait, I've done this quest a million times. He puts his own heart in... Whoa. Did you guys know that? I don't know if I actually knew that part. His own heart in his... Wow.
Pretty metal story here in Duskwood. I'm then told that the Embalmer's heart is the source of his power, and if I can retrieve it from his dead wife while bringing it to the mayor, we might be able to save the town. But as all that's going on, some scout enters the room telling us that a terrifying thing is headed this way, with the mayor telling the man to go and prepare the night watch. I quickly start sprinting down the road towards the Embalmer's place to find his heart, and as I run, the scout sprints ahead of me, yelling, "Beware, a threat lurks in the wild." As I come to the fork in the road near the cemetery, that's where I see a scene starting to unfold. The usual quest givers here are banding together in the center of the highway, preparing for whatever threat comes lumbering down in the distance, and that's when I see the abomination from Warcraft 3,
Pretty sick.
Stitches. Oh god, I just saw his corpse at the end of last episode, not knowing where he came from or what he was doing. I certainly didn't know I was the one that caused the town his wrath. I pause and prepare to fight alongside the Night Watch. He's a level 35 elite, but with 5 of us here, we should be able to take him down, right? Nope, he goes off and just starts 3-hitting each one of these poor guards, killing them one after
He's just
another,
watching.
which
Help him,
scares
man.
me from running in to tank him until a few are already dead. By the time I jump in, I realize I can't take him down myself, not even with the help of everyone still alive, and in fact, I'm about to die. That's when I try to run away, and my RuneScape player brain kicks in, trying to find a safe spot behind this fence just to stall as long as possible.
Nice.
But that's when
Oh,
a much
let's
higher
go.
level player comes to my rescue, seeing the pathetic scene from down the road, and thank goodness that they are a very talented hunter who can actually help subdue the abomination. This high level hunter, Lerlin, and her pet cat help me finish off Stitches, once again returning him to a lifeless corpse, saving the town.
Like, we have this discussion a lot where, like, modern MMOs do this thing, and retail WoWs like this, and some other ones are too, where, like, everyone levels with the world. So everyone's scaled kind of like the same-ish, and you can group across different levels and do the same instances together. And, like, the idea is, okay, the player is in charge of where they can go, and the player can group with people despite the levels, and it scales everyone, so you can play with your friends easier. That's the concept, and that's true, I guess. But what sucks is you don't have moments like this, where someone who's a higher level than you, that's stronger than you, and it can come in and save you, or not, or just run by you, and you're just seeing, like, that power of, like, holy crap, I want to get there. And when everyone just scales and everything, you don't have this moment where, like, wait, I'm the strong guy. I can then go help and kill things that were hard for me a few weeks ago. Like, that's so critical to an MMO. Like, there's some decisions, it's just like, I don't like the scaling in any MMO, man. So bad, it's so bad. Yeah, it comes with the pros, but it's so bad.
Thank you so much, Lerlin, for saving my sorry ass. This was such a cool moment. Most of the times when I play MMOs in the past, any kind of boss in a quest like this is always fought in an instance rather than out in the open world. Having the big villain of this quest line be something that's actually roaming around the world among everyone else not only makes it all the more terrifying when I see him slaughter regular quest-giving NPCs, but it also makes him feel all the more real since he's something every player in the world can see and has to deal with. It genuinely feels like I really did mess everything up and almost caused the end of Darkshire. Also, I have to love the throwback that Stitches is just an abomination from Warcraft 3. I beam with joy every time I see any kind of reference to that game. But with Stitches dead, I head back out to the hermit's shack, finding the grave of his wife lying behind it. I read the gravestone before doing anything else, which gives me a nice reminder of the motivations that kicked off all this chaos. I've always found stories to be boring if a villain is just some random guy that wants to destroy the world because he's evil or whatever. It's always so much cooler when there is a real, relatable motivation behind an antagonist, and losing a loved one is something I can certainly empathize with. I dig up the hermit's wife who tries to eat me and apparently succeeds as I died, not realizing I need some help to do this quest. She is a pretty tough elite herself. But after reviving and getting a couple strangers in region chat to come around, I managed to slay Eliza and grab Abercrombie's heart from her chest cavity. I take his heart back to the mayor, who...
That's also a cool thing of Classic WoW, is just like, assuming you're not like min-maxing world buffs, like using cheesy strategies, like standing on the roof and whatever, like this and that. Assuming you're just like playing normally and you're like you're under leveled or like the appropriate level, no world buffs, and you're just kind of whatever. Like, you have to talk to other people and be like, hey, is anyone else on this quest, or can anyone help me? And like, you have to group, and like, this is such a good feeling, right?
Who thanks me for saving the town, assuring my name will be written in their history books and rewarding me with a pretty awesome shield, the Crest of Darkshire. And you know what? This story, it was great. No disappointment whatsoever. It was amazing from start to finish. You know, I was just talking earlier about how cool it is that RuneScape keeps the logic of an MMO by starting off quests with hapless adventurers accidentally helping out villains. I had no idea I was about to run into the exact same thing, and it works just as well here. After all, it wouldn't make sense if I just came into this game and had some random NPC giving me a quest saying, help, you're the only one that can save us from the embalmer attacking our town.
That's
but it does make so much sense in a world filled with random adventurers running around that one idiot would be gullible enough to accidentally do a quest helping out the embalmer that almost levels all of Darkshire, with the added awesome flavor that it takes actual groups of other...
Unironically, in hardcore, someone could accidentally do the quest that helps the embalmer summon Stitches, and then Stitches then kills someone else. So you're effectively like killing other players' hardcore characters by doing this quest without even knowing it.
Players to set everything right. One of the more fascinating things about this quest line, though, is that I might have actually appreciated everything all the more, specifically because I was coming to this quest after I experienced all those disappointments leading up to it. I mean, I was just going through so many simple quest lines to kill a certain number of mobs, or collect certain items, or deliver this message, so it didn't feel like anything was amiss as I was going and doing the exact same tasks just for another NPC. I actually didn't pick up that anything suspicious was going on until I was already a few steps in. I assumed I was just helping a weird old guy that Madame Ava was worried about. Actually, why did she send me to Abercrombie anyway? She was the one that wanted me to check up on him in the first place. This is all her fault. One of the things this quest reminded me of more than any other, though, is how nice it feels when you have delayed gratification in a game. I don't know if it's just developers not trusting players' patience nowadays or what, but it feels like so many online games today just throw you immediately into high stakes action.
Well, I think it's because like the gaming audience these days, like the kids these days, like the masses these days kind of do want to get thrown into the action. I think it's us, like, I don't know how old Jibe is, probably in his 30s, you know, his kids and stuff, like all of us in our 30s that like grew up playing this stuff. It's like, yeah, no, we kind of want that like slow, delayed gratification, but I can see why developers don't do it, because you're like catering to like a bunch of boomers.
and never let off the gas pedal. Everything has to hit the ground running. Everything has to be instantaneous. At least in the world of online games, people seem to come in with this expectation that they are experiencing the best and most intense possible gameplay right from the get-go, no questions asked. But I don't know, I don't think that's as fun, at least not after a while. A story can't be non-stop action. You need to have slower moments to appreciate stillness, sit with events, and let a narrative breathe. Even in multiplayer games that have no story, you really should have moments of downtime before the exciting game-defining action occurs. It's because of those smaller moments of build-up that the big exciting plays feel all the more big and exciting. And that's certainly true in MMOs. The excitement that comes from getting a rare drop or accomplishing a tough achievement or even doing something as simple as leveling up, that only feels good because of all the hard work you had to put into it. If a game is nothing but an endless stream of shiny rewards given to you one after another, then no reward means anything. You gotta let me breathe before you throw another pop-up my way. But yeah, Abercrombie's quest line, it was absolutely incredible. Somehow Duskwood now has 3 of my favorite quests in this game. How is Blizzard so good at making spooky regions? Drustvar was also my favorite zone in retail too. They have a real knack for this. But you know, honestly, of all the things I've talked about in this video so far, one thing that's really surprised me the most about classic WoW in my playthrough is how the game feels like it's getting denser the longer I play. Normally, MMOs don't do that. Normally, MMOs either have content that's front-loaded at the beginning or back-loaded at the end, or maybe both. Developers obviously want to have a very curated introductory experience, putting their best foot forward for new players in the early levels to actually sell the prospect of players playing their game for a few thousand hours. So it makes sense there would be tons of well-made content placed right at the start. But you also have to make sure you're constantly adding all kinds of content to the end game for the sweaty players that max out their characters too fast and then constantly demand new challenges and items to grind for. So that's why it makes sense there would also be tons of well-made content in the end game. But that means for most MMOs, if there's ever a weak point, it's the mid game where players are stuck between those two. And that's why it's so surprising to me that WoW is getting denser the more I'm entering the mid game.
Okay, I'm actually, this will be interesting to see where it goes. So he doesn't know this, but Duskwood's early game, but it's kind of where early game starts to end. And in my opinion, the Elwyn, Westfall, Redridge, Duskwood, even the like Stranglethorn is like the best. But the midway is like really like, we know, like 44, 45. It does get slow there. It does. Like, you know, it just does. I'm curious how, if Jibe makes it that far, how he's going to feel at like level 45. Because it does get slow. It's like hours and hours and hours, and you level up and you get kind of like nothing. And it's like, there wasn't any like crazy epic quest either. So I'm curious how he's going to feel those like mid 40s. You know, once you get closer to 60, it's exciting too, I think. And like the early game's amazing. But the mid game in the 40, like, yeah, I'm curious how he's going to feel, you know?
Seeing more noteworthy stories than ever as I continue playing. I'm getting more areas to explore with more secrets hanging around in each one of them. I've got a quest log that's never empty. I have tons of new regions I'm about to step into. I also just found PvP and tried to queue up for my first ever battlegrounds, even though the queue never popped. That's another thing I can't wait to try. And on top of all of that, by now, the game's given me so many abilities and gear options, I bet I could spend over an hour just trying to fiddle with how to best set up my ability bar. It's incredible how much stuff there is in this game and how I'm never running out of things to do, even as I finally start to wrap up the starting zones that I first came across. And I'm still unlocking more. While I was wrapping up the Abercrombie questline, a guildmate messaged me saying they noticed I hit level 30 and hinting that I should really do the Whirlwind Axe quest, whatever that is. I realized that's a class quest. I haven't done one of those in a while, and now I'm pumped as hell to see where that will take me. Maybe it'll take me to Darrowshire so I can actually get back to doing what I want to be doing more than anything else right now, but I'll save all that for next.
I wonder if this guildie is like an actual guildie or just like a backseater. Because like if it's just a backseater, it's kind of annoying. Like you reach 30, we need like now go do this. Like I almost just want to see where he goes himself. Or if it was just actually a guildie, just being like that, then it's kind of wholesome. But if it's a backseater, like knowing that it's Jibe, telling him what to do next, it's like, no, we want to like just let him like do his thing, you know? It was definitely a backseater. Yeah, probably a backseater. But yeah, guys, It's so fun watching G-Bay play. Let's just let him play. You know what I mean? Just let him play.
Wind axe pump doing what I want to get to the end of this one. If you enjoyed watching, please go ahead and subscribe so you can stay in the loop for when the next video in the series comes out. A big shout out once again to War Thunder for sponsoring today's episode. Don't forget to play for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, or mobile using my links in the pinned comment or video.
Because yeah, like it's a fundamentally different experience. Like say someone carries him through the Whirlwind Axe quest and then gives him a fiery enchant. Now your experience as a first-time playthrough is completely changed. It's completely different. Now you have an item that can one-shot anything. Like the whole like my character feels weak in the world is just completely ruined. Like, you know, as a 10th character, cool, like have fun, like do that. But as a first-time playthrough, it's like it'll just kind of, you know.
Description down below and claim that massive bonus pack for multiple premium vehicles, in-game currency, and more before it's all gone. And shout out once again to all channel members for supporting me on this series. Not only had I not expected WoW to be so good, but I did not expect its community would be so kind and supportive. I have got some channel member specific things coming for you guys right around the corner, so stay tuned for that. And with all that being said, I will see you all in the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching.
There's going to be another episode.
Good luck in solo queue, and have a wonderful day.
Guys, there's going to be another episode. WG-Bay, there we go. Guys, this video came out Friday. I knew, like, I was so excited to watch it, but I was like, guys, we're going to have to wait for Monday because it's going to be like it's like an hour-long video. Like, with how much I yap, it's going to be like a 2-hour-long react. But like, holy crap, I'm loving this, man. I'm loving the series. If you guys haven't, check out G-Bay99. He's doing like a WoW series, and his, I don't know if it's like a playlist. He'll probably make it into a playlist at some point, right? But his last like couple uploads, classic WoW. I tried classic WoW with no nostalgia was the first one, I think, and then he tried retail too. But man, it's just so good, so darn good.